the Spirit Sessions podcast. I'm your guide, Katie Silcox, bringing you your weekly self-love soundbite. Join us, where I'll help you find your true spiritual home, where every single aspect of you is holy ground, holy ground, holy ground, holy ground.
This is a Spirit Session podcast with Katie Silcox. Venga chicos, empezamos.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hi everyone, Katie here. This podcast is intended to inspire you, educate you, and most importantly, support you on your journey towards knowing who you really are, that inner self, that inner teacher. I am not a psychologist or a medical doctor and do not offer professional health or medical advice on this podcast. If you are suffering from any kind of psychological or medical issue, please do the right thing and seek help from your qualified health professional. Hey everyone, I want to let you know that this week's podcast is brought to you by one of my favorite companies. We work with them all the time, Banyan Botanicals. You can find all the info, banyanbotanicals.com. I've got it in the show notes, but today I want to talk about one of my favorite supplements. It's Triphala. Sometimes my digestion's not perfect. I get bloated, sometimes irregular, or feeling heavy after meals. I know that I'm not alone in this. This is the number one thing we hear at Shakti School. And something that I take that really does offer a noticeable change for me is Triphala. And I use Banyan Botanicals brand. It is the traditional Ayurvedic formula. It has been used for thousands of years. It's not a harsh laxative. It is about gently supporting your system so things can just work better. And what I love about Banyan Botanicals specifically is that their products are super high quality. They focus on organic herbs, sustainably sourced, and you can really feel how much this company cares about their product and the planet. I take it at night, and it's become one of those simple habits that just helps me feel more balanced overall. So if you've been struggling with digestion and are like, how do I start? I want something natural. I recommend starting here with Triphala. Go to Triphala at banyanbotanicals.com and I'll link it in the show notes. Enjoy the podcast. Hi everyone, welcome to Spirit Sessions. We have a beautiful episode this week with Angelica Neri. She is a wonderful soul. Really a deep old soul despite her young years, an Ayurvedic practitioner, yoga teacher, spiritual entrepreneur, known for blending Ayurveda with feminine spirituality, energy healing, and intuitive development in modern wellness work. She's also the host of the Divine Feminine Healers podcast, of which I've been on several times, and we are going to be having an amazing discussion really about a lot of things, but all the things we always forget, honestly, and have to continually remember. So I think you're going to love this episode. Enjoy. Angelica Neri. Hey lady, I love being with you. We keep doing it. It must be for a reason.
I know. I'm like, I need my annual podcast with Katie. It's about time.
Likewise. We love having you on Spirit Sessions.
Oh, yay. So I'm changing actually up this first question. That's like around the same thing. But how are you currently connecting with your intuition?
Angelica always asks the best questions. That's why we keep hanging out with her and having these really great conversations. And, I'm like in that era where you're transitioning from kind of that more like Lakshmi stage of life into just like a little bit more of that wisdom body. And whereas before, when I was younger, Angelica, it was like an intentional practice of connecting to my intuition and learning about it and studying it. Now it's just like, it's really accessible and it's really fast. And it's also deeply challenging to, let me say it like this, I know better. So in other words, I know very quickly the highest and best movement
action, words. And now for me, I'm 45. The task is like not so much like, is this my intuition? How do I connect to my intuition? Like for me, it's just right there. And the challenge is to like do what it says instead of I'm like a very like fiery gal, and I'm smart and I'm the boss, and so I'm used to like just being like, do this is, react. And the intuition's like, hey, why don't you just not react and just pause? And hey, maybe you don't know everything, or maybe the thoughts that you're having aren't real at all. I know I didn't deeply answer the question correctly, but I think like for me, the more important thing around intuition now is just do what it freaking says.
Totally.
And then sometimes it's really, really hard because our reactions are almost instant. They're pretty quick to bump up, at least for me.
Totally. Isn't that so funny? Like how quickly that like reaction is that you could take that as being like, oh no, that's the truth. But when you have experienced again, what happens when you don't listen to your intuition, you're like, the cost is going to be too much to not.
100. Well said. Like for you, I look at you and you seem like really chill and laid back and like, yeah, you have some pitta, but I sense you might be a more like calmer demeanor by nature. Am I totally wrong on that? Or do you also find that like quick to react in yourself?
It's funny when I'm in these spaces, it really activates a lot of that like watery, like thing. I was actually talking about this with my friend because I'm a rising Gemini, and I'm like, I'm actually such a contradiction because sometimes I feel like with my personal friends and family, they think I'm a completely different person because I am that. Like, I'm fiery. I'm like gonna tell you the truth. I'm gonna like spit it to you and like.
Are you from New Jersey?
No, I give that.
You give a little Jersey energy.
I'm from Chicago, so like similar.
Oh, same, totally. Chicago, even better.
Yeah, like I'm gonna give it to you straight. I'm a realist in this land of LA, and I love that. But then like when I'm in these spaces where I feel like I could like ground in my body and this gentle, like motherly, nurturing, feminine comes through, like that also is my true nature. So I don't know. Like I haven't quite like found that. Both are true. So I don't know.
I totally get that. And I think it brings up like an important idea, which is the fish swimming in the water. Like I was at my boyfriend's this weekend and he has a fish tank and his fish are super beautiful and healthy. And he's like, yeah, I finally figured out how to not kill them. And I was like, oh, like what was the solution? And I was thinking he got the right food amount or the good food or whatever. He's like, it's the water.
Whoa.
You have to keep the water really, really pure. And I was like, oh my God, like I've just come from teaching a retreat in the Bahamas and it was like 30 amazing people all dedicated to their spiritual path and me. And like we were getting in this like turquoise ocean every day for hours and laying on the banks of the mother. And it's just like that space lets everybody's guard down and the watery ease to kind of flow. And then I got back to like Northern Virginia hellhole traffic where literally I witnessed a hit and run. And then the next day I was hit. Like, and then I was like super reactive with my man. And it's like reactivity zone equals reactivity waters equal more reactivity. So I think not that we can take ourselves off the hook, right, for our reactions, but I think the environment is so important and why in Ayurveda we do our very best to like cultivate this inner environment of sattva, which is like peace and healing and clarity so that rajas, this like chaos, doesn't kind of run over the intuition, which is always there. I mean, I think people really do know what the best course of action is. It's just, oh, one more thing that we could talk about that might be helpful for our listeners. The enemy of the intuition is overthinking.
Yeah. The great suffering of our existence.
For sure.
So hard to remember though, because it's really fun to think sometimes. I mean, you could really create all these imaginary situations that may or may not happen, but it's so
and
true.
like, I mean, I know exactly what you mean. And is it fun? It's
No,
like, it's so not, it's actually miserable. It's just what we're good at and what we know. And my teachers help me see for me, and I'm sure you're the same, Angelica, like it's where we feel comfortable.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think there's so many principles I come back to in Ayurveda, and having the optimal environment for your body to heal is something that I come back to again and again. And it's so dynamic that it reveals different layers the more that I get to know it. And I'm feeling that right now. Like I feel that collectively too. I think we're really starting to realize, especially those of us who are sensitive and maybe, I don't know, maybe have a more heightened sense of awareness of like, it really does matter. Like what you surround yourself in, like the physical space, but also like the relationships that you're around. Like it is so telling. And I think if there's things have been coming up to like a boiling point and it's coming up for that pressure to like realize that like you are meant to be like in peace and your environment should bring like that ease and flow to it as well.
Yeah, you're making me think of something I always say in Shakti school. We do this mudra, which is like, if you're just listening, you can't see this, but it's like you're holding up both hands in like a cup formation. And there's like the part of us and a part of me as a teacher in Shakti school, which is like, we're here for Ayurveda. And that's what you just described, Angelica, really well, where it's like we're creating an environment of peace internally and externally through rituals, foods, lifestyle, environment. Everything is like Shaktilicious and Sattva-licious. And like I've been going up to Asheville to an Ayurveda center. Shout out Sohum, my Panchakarma center with Dr. Ladd. And it's Sattva city. It's like so easy to be like, yo, and then all your shit can come out precisely because you're in this sattvic environment. So that's Ayurveda. That's like one form of yoga and Zen and meditation, all these great spiritual practices, including the Christian tradition. Like it's all there of like nunneries and monks and like creating these, like you live in LA, you are in the mecca of that, where it's like beauty, hella good food, and like sound baths, in like
It's crazy.
Topanga Canyon. But there's also like a preciousness quality that actually can be, I should say, harmful to the path, because we can get addicted to that sattva, and that's also an impediment. And so in Tantra, you would actually go to, I have to say this to myself, you would actually go to the places that are like, the Tantrics used to go to the graveyards, and you would go to places where it made your nervous system feel very much not regulated, so that you could see what happens when you don't have the perfect setup.
Totally. Totally. Yes, that is such a good point because it's like, especially like you just can't control it. And sometimes when you're in it, then you do have to accept it. I live in Venice right now, which is like chaos city, like the most chaos.
Right. Oh my God. I was there a few years ago. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
I can't believe I lived here this long. I mean, I loved it when I first did because everyone's so authentic and them. And I would walk the boardwalk and I would walk with my AirPods on, witnessing the chaos as a practice to be like, can you maintain your state of peace when you are seeing the craziest of humanity before you? Like, at first I wouldn't even touch the boardwalk, and now I use that as a practice to come back to every now and then, because of course you're not going to ever have like the perfect circumstances for it always, unless you are set with a choice and you can create more of a peaceful environment.
That's a really great practice. Like, it reminds me of this Buddhist practice that maybe you were just doing it intuitively, where you go out into the street like you did, like the commons and the city center, and you walk by everyone, and it's a little different, but it's like you witness them without judgment, and you say, I am also that. Like, I'm also the beggar on the street. I'm also the junkie. I'm also like the girl with like the Botox and the boob job. And like, you just see everyone, and we have that tendency to want to judge people. And of course, like in judgment, there's two places that come from the same energy, Shakti. And it's the power to be better than, to consider oneself better than, and the power to consider oneself worse than. And we're all in that until we wake up fully. Like we're in that thing of like, oh, I'm better than that, and I'm worse than that. And we're in that comparison. And so that practice of just letting it all be like, it's all me. I have the capacity for all of these things. That's really helpful.
I think so. And it's like learning empathy of just like, okay, I could see like this thing in humanity that like seems really gross, but like I can relate to that on some type of level, even if I didn't perform that certain behavior or hold that specific belief. Like that's where I can understand that and like come to qualms with that. And I think that also helps us to accept like all parts of ourselves, like saying like, okay, yeah, I'm that like fiery person, but like I am also that healer, and I have that feminine energy to me. And it makes me think a lot of today what I wanted to talk about, because I feel like I get a lot of people in our community wanting to start their own intuitive business and have trouble kind of getting started. So I kind of want to talk about both of our journeys and getting into it, trying to remember and scrub where we were at in those beginning moments because it's so
Love
helpful
that.
for people to hear. And I think of you like I remember you were like on the cover of Yoga Journal, like Yogini and SF. Like how did you make that transition? Like being like, I want to start Shakti school. Like, how did that come about?
I'm so glad you're asking this because I love, like, one of my passions is supporting women in launching their own, what I call feminine form businesses. And number one, I was on the cover of Yoga Journal and doing a lot of things in the yoga world. And I had to be willing, for me, this is my practice, my story. I had to be willing to dissolve my identity.
Mm,
I had a really strong identity as like the yoga lady, the tantra girl, the like Yoga Journal cover person. And by the way, like all wrapped in that is like amazing stories of like deceit and lust and like creepiness. Like every human thing is inside all human systems. And there just came a moment when I was like, A, traveling around the world all the time sucks for me. And B, I don't just want to study this. I don't want to be this thing. It's limiting me. And I want to do this other thing. And I remember, and this is where it can be supportive for your community. Number one, be willing to dissolve the old identity to step into your new role. And that is so hard for people. I see like my students are like, can I really create this? Can I really trust this? Am I good enough? Am I imposter? Should I get more certifications? Who am I to X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, homegirl, who is anybody? Because
yeah.
usually the most successful people are literally either the nicest, coolest people on the planet and they deserve it all and it's their karma coming back, or just like the biggest big mouths who just have the balls to say
Yeah.
things, you know, and in some cases, like the narcissism to do it, which we all have shards of. So, what I would say is this. I was standing in my house overlooking the mountain. And for me, I had a moment where I knew it dropped into me. That's what intuition does. It's like a slap in the face. It's like in the teachings, it's called a bindu visarga. A drop drops into you from heaven, from God. I heard it. And it was like, if you do what your students are asking for, it'll be awesome. They've been asking for an Ayurveda teacher training, for an Ayurveda online training. I didn't want to do that, Angelica. I wanted to do Tantra, but they wanted that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, if I create this Ayurveda school, I can get all these much smarter people to talk about Ayurveda, and I can talk about the Tantra of Ayurveda. And I did it. And I knew it was like in every bone in my body, this is gonna work. Now,
Yeah.
the intuitive piece was if you build it, they will come. The second piece is I had to let go of what I wanted to serve the people that wanted something. In feminine form business, what I find is so many women, because I work mostly with women, so I don't know if men do this as well, they might. Everybody's trying to think of this great new idea. And I'm like, no, no, no. Figure out the thing people are asking for that's missing and go do that thing. And then secondly, fake it till you make it in every bone in your body. Just this is going to be amazing. I'm going to do this. It's going to work. And then you put pedal to the metal. Self-doubt is the greatest destroyer of these businesses. It's just the
Totally.
biggest impediment.
Yeah, it's so hard when you're first starting to not have those intrusive thoughts of like,
Yeah.
how can I? But
And you can
that's like
have them. You can have them.
the entrepreneur journey is so synonymous with the spiritual journey. It's like so not for the faint-hearted, but if you've already done that healing work, like it really sets the foundation for this of like what you're going to build. And those of you who are entrepreneurs, like, you know, it's built within you. You can't deny it. Like, it becomes so much more painful not to answer the calling than to go anymore. It's just, that's what it is. And most of the time in the beginning, you're like, not me. No, I don't want to do this. Like, in some way, shape, or form. That similar with me when I was starting my business, I wanted to go into something that felt more legitimate. And for me, that felt like, I don't know, creating like a holistic healing program and focusing on like diet and nutrition because that felt like really tangible and I liked that and I did that for a while. But then like I got the knocks on my door of like, when are you leading a Reiki training? Because I did Reiki and energy healing, and I was like, no, I don't want to be this person. Like, I no thank you.
I don't want to be woo-woo.
No, I didn't. And I still feel this in a different layer even now. And eventually it just got so loud that I led my first Reiki training, and that just like distilled so much self-doubt with the experiences that we had. It just like could not be denied. And I kept on being guided there. And to this day, this is the thing like that I'm becoming, is a intuitive healer and leading women to certify themselves and get their own business started in the healing world, and to realize these things that are unseen are just as real as these other modalities that we have. So it's funny how that gets dropped into you and planted within you. So if anyone's listening to this and you feel that desire, it's not for nothing. It's planted into you for a reason.
I'm so proud of you. I really am. Like, it is so rare. And I want to encourage women listening who have, so entrepreneurship is not for everyone. There are people that are meant to be in support roles. There are people that are meant to be in leadership roles. Like, it's not for everyone. But what I will say about entrepreneurship is this: the single most important factor or motivating factor in my life is the value that I hold most dear, which is freedom. Entrepreneurship, just from a purely sort of human standpoint, if you can get it to work, is your freedom. And this country that you and I live in is built on the ancestors, many of us have, who were creators. They were builders. They were entrepreneurs. Many of our ancestors were that type of spirit. And I'm proud of that about our ancestry. There are other things that weren't great about, our past, but that's a really good feature of our culture. That is this Wild West spirit of like, let's just try it. And the number one thing, so let me give a personal example that happened yesterday that's going to help everybody get off their butt and start your business if you really want to do this. I'm living in a rental property. It's a friend's house. I love her. I really want her to sell her house. It's a bitch because I have to like navigate that schedule. Friends of mine were like, can we come see the house? I'm like, sure. What better tour guides to give you the tour than the person who's been living here for a really long time? I'll show you all the things, right? And they came over, and Angelica, I mean, at the end of an hour, I had talked to them so much that I felt like I had sold them the house. And I was like, I was just like gushing about, look at this view and look at this. This is so great. And what was actually happening was this flow of appreciation that I have for this place that, listeners may know, my house burned down and this has been my home. And it's like all this appreciation. I was like, this is how you become a successful entrepreneur, which by nature, you have to be a salesperson. It's that you fundamentally believe in every freaking cell of your body, you believe in what you're selling. And if you believe in what you're selling, it ceases to be marketing and manipulation, and it starts to become adding appreciation and value to people's lives. And that's when people can get off this ego trip that is so scared of putting up a website, that's so scared of writing a newsletter, that's so scared of having a social media. That fear is because you're not leading with value and appreciation and service. I didn't have to talk to these people for 90 minutes about how great this house was. In fact, I'd rather been doing something else. But by actually selflessly serving them and showering this place, because I do appreciate it. I don't know if they're going to buy the house, but man, there's not one real estate agent in Albemarle County that could have sold this house better than Silcox. Like, I'm a saleswoman because I love this thing. So what is the thing that you are obsessed with, that you love, that you believe in, and then never stop believing and talking about it with confidence?
Totally. And it's really looking at it too of like, I was talking about this with one of my clients too with her business today. It's like, if you value that for yourself, you've already invested in this thing for yourself. You value it. You've seen how it's changed and improved your life. Don't you think that your clients could benefit from that too? Like, can't you see that connection? And I think it really comes from worth. And this is like a thing that we have to hold both with having the business of the business is me, but then also it's a different entity and it's not
Very
me.
smart.
And when you separate that, it becomes less personal. And if this person doesn't want my offer, it wasn't meant for them. I can let that go and not take it to heart, because when you take those things to heart, the self-doubt grows and it really impedes your growth. And I've been through that with so many like obstacles in my business where I thought like, okay, I guess this doesn't work because one person doesn't want this thing, when that was really just trying to redirect my energy and to keep going even after that.
I'm curious, like, has there been a moment in your, because you're a public figure and you have an entrepreneurial journey and you've got to kind of put yourself out there. Was there ever a moment when you were maybe younger or maybe recently where someone said something that made you doubt your offering and take it personally?
Oh yeah. Like
All the
all,
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, what stage do I begin with?
Yeah.
I think maybe if we're like going to get to the root of it all, like I talk about, like I have an Italian family, like very traditional. My dad's a very successful entrepreneur, but in like a blue collar industry. So it's just kind of like I look up to his entrepreneurship, but it's in a real world thing that people need on a daily basis.
But does he have like a plumbing company or something?
It's literally textbook. We are Mario and Luigi. Like, yes. So and he's from Italy. Like, we're so
Isn't
stereotypical.
it funny how my intuition kind of knew? He's
And
probably really rich. Plumbers make a ton of money.
he's been so successful. It's something that I admire so much and I look up to. And then there's me trying to create my own business, but based on like intuitive reading and borderline mediumship, like so much of that like impeded of like, what is my family going to think? Because, I post everywhere, like everyone could see it. And hearing what I know other extended family may be saying behind my back about this and whatever it is. And that I think held me back a lot because
Hmm.
fear of judgment for sure.
Oh, yeah. We could talk about this for an hour. So it's been really helpful for me to separate the business from myself and also to separate myself in my fullness from my persona that
Yeah.
we all have to have. Like, and I'm like over the top real. I don't have like perfectly PR crafted speeches. I do 3 hour lectures with notes, but no script. Like, and I think people love that because it's exciting. You don't know what she's going to say next. And I think the same goes with like any kind of business. Like, being able to craft that persona is important. And also to be able to rest in the part of you that doesn't have to be that all the time. In fact, it would be detrimental to you to be that all the time. And so if you're in the healing arts, there's this pressure. Oh, she should be healed. Oh,
Totally.
she's the Ayurveda school lady. I guess she has zero inflammation and perfect digestion and never gets angry. And it's like, homie, absolutely not. Like, I get to do this karmically because maybe I need to repeat it this many times for myself. And every time, Angelica, it's like I forget. I know that mentally, intellectually. I even preach that. I teach that. People know me. They're like, yeah, we know you eat potato chips. They aren't fooled. There's still this structure in my mind that says, if I'm not perfect Ayurveda Katie, I don't deserve this role.
Yeah.
So for your listeners and mine, we both train trainers and coaches and offer, platforms. If you are doubting signing up for something with Angelica or with me because we're offering you the opportunity to have a career in something that's not mainstream and you're doubting that because you aren't the healer yet that feels perfect and you aren't the intuitive that feels like she's mastered it, like that is the opposite of why we should be doing these programs, right? No one inside the programs themselves that are the great masters and teachers are perfect beings. There's a few that are really advanced on the planet, but most people are just kind of like us, suffering through it, struggling through it, baking the cake halfway, effing it up and trying again. And, so I have to continually remind myself. And then the students tell me this: oh my God, it's the fact that you are so humble around your flaws and faults that allows me to feel safe with you, that
Yeah.
allows me to learn from you, that allows me to trust you. Hashtag Brene Brown, so it's so huge, this idea of being something to the public when you're offering a service where you feel like you have to live up to the highest value of the service. And I think that's one of the things I see blocking our ladies from really launching.
Totally, totally. It's like you want to have that vision for yourself and you like what ultimately it's coming from God. And I think like ultimately we do revere that there's this thing that's like being channeled through us that we feel is bigger than us. And I think that's where it gets like warped up because it is something so special that is like vesseled through us, and it's so admirable. But also, like, we are literally just the vessel. Like, I would never be like, it's me, Angelica. I'm like the one who's healing everyone. Like, I'm so adamant. Like, I am just here to guide. Like, I
Yeah,
am.
and that's why you're so good at it. And that's why you're so worthy of the seat.
And I think we're moving through this like collectively. Like, I mean, how many times does it need to be said? Like, all these authorities and gurus, like, that just doesn't work anymore. And I've definitely given away my power in those situations and thought that someone had the answers at all. But it's all really about coming back to yourself and beginning to listen to yourself again.
Definitely.
So, kind of on the other side of the spectrum with business, I want to talk about, because it's like, on one end, you're not your business. Don't take it so personally. And also, you should have a different life than just like letting your business be your whole identity. Like, I definitely had to go through that. But at the same time, there is this relationship with our own personal frequency and how that translates into the business. And this is something that I love, and I actually am creating a program and launching this in June. But I want to hear your perspective. Like, what has been your relationship with understanding, like, okay, my frequency like affects the business, and having a healthy relationship with it?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's something I've worked with a lot. So we have a business where we have 20 plus teachers, and then now we're like 4 full-time staff and many, many, many coaches. Like it's becoming a Shakti monster in the best of ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a good Shakti monster.
Shakti University.
Shakti University.
Ah,
Yes. So that matrix of Shakti, the Shakti school. Okay, so we have all these people. And then this year we have 650 students. It's crazy.
wow.
Huge. And we have thousands and thousands and thousands of alumni, right? So this community that we still meet once a month in spirit sessions, like we're big. And because it's getting bigger, Katie gets to feel safer in that my frequency is not the driving force of the Shakti school. When it was, Shakti was way more like ups and downs because it was solely tied into my energy field, which is pretty good. I'm pretty freaking grounded, but like I'm also, like anybody else. So I would say when you are a solopreneur, it is you, baby. It's you.
Totally.
And there's an advantage to that because you get to dictate everything. But the disadvantage is your boyfriend breaks up with you, your book hits the New York Times and he dumps you on the same day and you crash out, right? No, not anyone I know. But let's say like, and your business goes away for like 2 weeks, right? So my point is like, but the advantage is my frequency runs the thing. And if your frequency is high and vibing and you're in your 7 chakras and they're all open and your perspective is big, that shit's amazing, right? So, but what I've learned how to do is I've learned how to actually energetically, there's a practice for this, and I'm sure you teach some variation on it, but the practice I've been doing and have had to do is I've had to actually, the throat chakra is the field from which we manifest all things. And the back body is the unconditional. And the energy field of the back body, that unconditional is the support, the miracles, the ancestors, the allies, the magic, the connection, the possibility, and the template of your soul's DNA. All its potentials are there. And so I can invite that to come through that area. And I put the Shakti school out in front of me as its own baby. And I, Katie, the vessel, like you were saying, am willing to imbue that right now with all my love and all the goodness and invite all, Jesus Christ, come on in. Get her in there. Like, let's effing go, right? Get it out of just me and my energy field, even though I can build it with my energy. So that's a practice where you put your business outside of you.
Totally.
You feed it, but you ask that a greater force feed it. And then, Angelica, you're not so reliant on your own vibration, which is changeable. Let's be honest. That's too much pressure. I can't have perfect vibration all the time.
No. And it's because too, if we're relating to this feminine energy, like we are literally always riding a wave. There's always going to be so many emotions. And one practice that has been so helpful for me, and I work probably the most with my clients, is like the emotion, like healing emotions and being able to separate that from the business. If I'm going through something emotionally, that should not determine whether or not I like create this week. And sometimes it has, and
Of course.
it impedes it. That's why I love connecting with intuition, like you said, like connecting to a source that's higher than you, because that is the consistency. That is like that pure source that is always going to come through you. And it's like the biggest, it's honestly crazy to me that people are not, I think we are moving into an age where people are going to be talking about this even more. Cause like, how do you get through life without that? Like, there's just this hardware is so valuable, is so ever changing. Like, you need that security, you need that foundation and that infinite potential that can like able to pour through you. When you understand that, know how to work with it, know how to read energy and what is your intuition, like foolproof, you know exactly what to do.
Yeah, so well said. Thank you. Like that's it. How is anybody surviving without some kind of connection to God? And the other thing, I'm thinking about as you were talking, the Jungians, human beings have an anatomy of spirit. We have it's our spiritual physiology. Just because you don't think about it or believe in any of this woo-woo stuff, it doesn't mean it's not happening. It's gravity. You can believe in gravity or not. If we do not fulfill a God function relationship whereby you get to be nested in some higher thing, call it God, call it Jesus, call it whatever you works for you right now. But if you don't have some kind of relationships with something bigger than your ego, I know you've seen this a lot. What will happen is the ego will take over the role. And I've seen it in myself. When I'm not connected to my spiritual practice and my relationship to God, Katie's ego will be like, well, I know what to do. I know everything. I'm right, And so that can get really ugly.
Totally. Yeah, it's really funny how distinguishing the voice between the ego and the intuition, probably the question I get asked the most, especially when people are like starting their healing journey. And it is so hard because it can sound or it could feel like it comes in the same way. Distinguishing between the voice of the ego and the intuition, like what do you feel is the difference for your differentiating between those two?
Yeah, great question. The more you sit with yourself, the more you will get to know your ego very, very, very well, and you will know what it does, and you will become familiar with its patterns and its voices, and essentially all ruminative, evaluative mind is ego. And then in the Buddhist tradition, they have you do this very fun practice where it's like, try to put your finger on it. You can't, because it actually doesn't really exist. It wants to make itself firm and hard as a separate entity all the time. And that's why it's defensive, and that's why it's needy, and that's why it's scared if anybody offends you. That's like a whole other hour-long talk, but like just sit and watch your own mind, and you'll see that's all your defense systems and all your adaptations and feeling narratives are derivative of this thing that wants to feel safe and comfortable and protected, and that thing has a way of running narrative that is very, very predictable, and it's repetitive. And in the traditions, it'll say, here are its features. It feels better than or worse than. It is scared of its own annihilation. It feels alone. It feels like a victim. It actually becomes a perpetrator. I mean, you just watch it. Just watch what this inner narrative is doing all the time. But the telltale signs are, ruminative thought, evaluative mind, meaning that's good, that's not good. I'm this, I'm not that. And it feels offended really easily.
Totally.
And the intuition is totally different. The intuition is soft, it's open, it speaks in terms often that come out of silence. And if you ask and you say, what is the highest and best for this situation, it emerges out of the heart field. And it's way more loving, and it makes me so happy to say this because I can feel it working on me now. It's like I had a little problem and suddenly it got solved in the podcast.
Mm.
It's so simple, your intuition, and it will ask you to step into something different than what you normally do. So it's really effing hard to answer your intuitive calling. Intuition will not make a choice based on what your limited egoic pattern self wants. It will make a choice based on what's highest and best for everyone involved, including you.
Totally. It's so interesting when that voice first comes in. And again, I think one of the best characteristics is just that like loving, nurturing, because sometimes people will ask like, but should I do this? And already the should, like it comes with like this harshness to it. Like this voice is so loving and but firm, and there's no questioning it. And when it usually comes in, at least for me, when the intuition comes in, I'm like, nah, not that. I don't want to do that. And I kind of wrestle with it a little bit. Like I do,
Yeah.
I go back and forth. I'm like, I don't know. That's probably like my ego. Like with this new apartment that I'm moving into, I was like, well, it feels really good in here, but I'm like, nah. I was like, I'm waiting for this other one. Like there's something better. I could get like more square footage or something like that. This ended up being like the perfect apartment for me, and like it came in like a crazy way, but I was so at first blinded by it, by my ego of being like, no, it has to be in this way. And I'm one that like loves like signs and symbols, and I was like, I need that specific sign in order for me to move in. And I think really what I was guided to in this situation is I was outsourcing too much of my power to like relying on signs. So like this is how the ego can really creep in, especially in these spiritual ways of like, if I don't have the specificity of a sign, like I'm not meant to move in. Like when really intuition to me is just trying to guide me, like you can make your own decisions. It's what you feel is right for you. You don't need anyone else to do that. Like you have to feel good. You're cleaning up your side of the street. You feel safe and sound with it. You don't need that external validation, even from a sign or a symbol that you feel like that could be coming.
Yeah. The sign and symbol comes when you don't need it. It's grace. It's just like a gift, but don't look for it. That's my advice. Don't look. I have a great story for you and the listeners, and I love what you just shared because I think so many people are going to hear that and love your real life apartment story. Like I was looking for all these signs, and one of the spiritual traditions I'm connected to, there is this idea of the women's lodge and the men's lodge. And you can think of it as aspects of your own psyche, right? But in the story, it's the women have their red tent or their lodge, and the men have their sweat lodge. And the men, which really represent that part of us that thinks hard about problems. And I have a huge men's lodge in my own psyche, right? It's like, think about it, solve it, do it now, do it faster, annihilate the problem, get it done. And that's freaking awesome. And we need to give a lot of credit to that part of men as men in society and in our own masculine as women that can achieve those things. But so in the men would get together in the men's lodge and they would talk about all of these problems, and they would come to, here are the top 5 issues. Okay, here's the number one thing, the question we have. Here's the question. We're going to take it now to the women's lodge. And they were the elder women. They weren't the young women. They were the elder women, the grandmothers. And they would take the question to the grandmother's lodge because that was the realm of the intuition. That was the realm of the feminine. And then guess what? The first part that would happen in the female lodge, grandmother's lodge, is they would decide whether or not it was even a worthy question. And if it wasn't, they'd kick it back, send another one. A lot of times it'd be like, wrong question. Dodo birds, send it back. And it's not, it's us. And so sometimes I'll sit with my heart, okay? And the question will just be annihilated in the light of the love that the grandmother lodge has for us. That's your intuition. The question even disappears. Sometimes, other times, the answer is given. And the answer is always going to be just a little bit. It's like when you're negotiating a good business deal, both sides should feel a little bit screwed over. That's a sign of a good deal, right? It's the same with your intuition. It should kind of feel like, oh, like I've got to do what this thing says. Like, okay, right? Like, I'll give you an example. This was really hard, but I think this is going to be helpful. It's a real world example. I said something dumb on a Zoom call in front of like 20 people. It was when I was working with a publisher. I was writing my second book. It could have just been said. Everyone kind of looked like that, and it could have been forgotten by everyone, I thought, right? And my intuition wouldn't let me sleep on it. I said something really innocuous, but it was dumb, and it may have hurt someone. I couldn't sleep. My intuition wouldn't let me go. And my intuition said, I want you to apologize. But I don't want you to apologize just to the person you said it to in private. I want you to apologize to everyone that was there. And I was like, no, what? I just apologize to the one person who said this dumb thing too? It was like, no, to everyone. Angelica, ew, I feel awful even telling you. It was so awkward and uncomfortable, and it was really hard. And it's not like, oh, yay, Katie, you did it. But like, let me tell you the results of following my intuition that I effing hated. I apologized to the person. She was like, I didn't even care. I apologized to the other people, and like it was like a spiritual journey. Like it was like an AA thing where you're like, I am seeking amends. I want to talk to you in person. Like, what is happening? And with almost every woman who was on this call to a T, she was like, oh my God, thank you. It really wasn't a big deal, but I did notice it. Yeah, it was kind of whack or whatever. Their variation, some didn't even know what I was talking about, but every single woman was like, thank you so much. That's like the coolest thing anyone's ever done in a Zoom meeting. It allowed there to be a relationship between me and these women that it never existed before.
Totally.
So I think the intuition actually invites us into the expanded version of ourselves. That's really our true self.
Oh, that's such a beautiful story, because not only then, like it changed them to ripple effect for them to do the same when they're in those situations again.
Exactly. And man, it taught me a lesson too, because it was like, watch your mouth, bro. Like, do you really want to do 17 apologies next week? Like, no. So I'm getting better. And you know, I love my big mouth. It's like my moneymaker. I'm entertaining. I'm a clown. It's why people like find me, I think, interesting. But the shadow side of that is sometimes it can be things that I don't stand by. But yeah, I think the other thing that I want to say about intuition, it requires a humility, like a bowing. That's why we kind of bow down and pray of like, if I let my ego run this decision, it's going to do what it normally does. So there's a humbling effect, but also innate in this whole field of intuition is this actual getting out of the personal realm of desires. And so that sounds really good, but people want to study their intuition because I think that we want to kind of manipulate reality.
Totally.
We want to be like in the flow of the manifesting grace. And it's like, that's not what intuition is at all. There's a comedian, Maria Bamford from LA, and she does this hilarious bit on my intuition, you know. You know, guys, I'm like really learning how to follow my intuition. And my intuition said, go in there and buy that cashmere sweater. And I did, and my intuition said, like, you know what? And I've seen this, Angelica, I've literally seen this, and I'm not calling anyone out. This was 20 years ago at a yoga studio in Marbella, Spain. This yogini woman walks out, and I'm like a baby yoga girl, right? I'm like 20. And this big mama walks out in Marbella, Spain, you know, this like, it's like the most flashy place in Europe. And she's like, comes up to this other woman, and I was just like a new yoga person, and she puts her hand on her heart and she goes, my intuition told me to tell you that your heart chakra is so closed. Later you find out that her husband had been cheating on her with this lady. Like, it's crazy. Like, intuition is not about us getting a manipulative power grab from the universe for the car you want or the apartment you want or the relationship you want. It's about actually not getting what you want and listening to what the everything needs.
Totally. It's so true. Because it's like, it's a healthy amount of like, I'm pulled to this. There's a part of me that is excited, but also it's a risk. It's a leap of faith. Like, in order for you to have change in your life, you're going to have to go into the unknown. It's not purely like, oh my God, I don't want to do this thing. Like that is, but there is that healthy amount of it because you're jumping into a newer version of yourself. So I love all of those examples.
Last thing I'll say, the feeling of being in uncharted waters where you don't feel like you have the oar and you're not in control and you're almost confused, that's a good sign that you're in your new expanded self.
I love that. Yeah, I feel like so many of us right now, like this Aries energy, we started like a lot of new beginnings, but it's so uncomfortable. You forget you wanted this new life and you're there and you're just so uncomfortable.
Wait, are we in an Aries energy?
We just moved out of an Aries energy, which was like planting a lot of seeds and starting new beginnings. And so now we're in Taurus, but it's about like carrying over those new beginning type of energies. And I'm speaking from Western astrology, not Vedic, but I think they say similar things, just in different ways.
It feels like today in particular, everything was like really flowing.
Yeah, I like Taurus energy because it's so grounding. And finally, after all that kind of like fiery energy we had last month, like things are supposed to be settling and like taking seat. But of course, as we know, like we get tested sometimes in those moments as well.
Thank you.
My goodness. Well, there was so much good wisdom in here. I don't think I have any other questions. I just want to hear what's going on at Shakti School and Yoni University. What kind of our community?
Well, we don't officially call it the University, although that's hilarious. You know, as always, we run one program every year and it starts in January. We're already getting geared up to accept new students starting in, I believe, May 15th. We open the doors again. So if people are interested, they can go to shaktischool.com and you can talk to a real live woman if you want to talk to somebody. And we offer Ayurvedic health coaching certification. And I know you've got this big thing coming up in June. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So excited for Shakti School too. I love speaking on the program. I always had people who are interested in Ayurveda, and it's like I endorse fully, always. It's just the best in every way. But yeah, we start in June, and I call this program Shift Your Frequency for this. I have a lot of women who want to start their own businesses, but that crippling doubt that really holding them back and knowing how to like take those first steps. So this is about you being able to create that spiritual business for yourself, but also with an alignment with your frequency, making sure that you're following with your intuition, getting super clear, distinguishing what that is, and not allowing your ego to kind of run the show. So that starts in June. It's a 3-month program. There's a lot of one-on-one coaching and personalized approaches with that.
Great. I'm sure we'll all have our links to this in the show notes. Good work, man.
Yeah, you too. Oh, it's so good to see your face and talk to you.
See you. Always a pleasure.
A big special thanks to Kevin Carlisle of Goodbye Gemini, who wrote this beautiful podcast music, and to DJ Juan Pablo Jimenez in southern Spain for mixing it and making it magic.